for party.
Hello and welcome back to the Darkling Chronicles. My name is Becky. I hope you're happy, healthy and well, having the best week. But if you're not, sending you so much love, and hopefully this podcast cheers you up. If you're walking the dog, working or just cleaning the house, I'm here to keep you company, okay? So I did say in my last episode that I was going to do a video about a witch. However, I want to do a bit more research into that because I did record it. I didn't think it sounded great. This is the thing when you record podcasts, okay? Sometimes you just think, is this actually any good? I don't know. So the fact that people keep coming back and keep listening is amazing to me. So I thought what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to read you a few more real ghost stories from my book, which I collated with all of the TikTok stories that I've been sent from the amazing people that follow me who've given me permission to do so. If you want to have a look at the book, you want to buy a copy, it's $12.99. It's in the link in this description. I'll pop it in for you. I do only have a certain amount available at the moment because I was just testing the waters. It is something that I've put together myself because I design and create kids books too, so I kind of had a bit of an idea of how to put it together. So it's really easy to dip in and out of. It's basically the perfect book to put next to the toilet or on the coffee table. It's just really easy reading. You can dip in and out and read as many ghost stories as you want, pop it back and then come back and read more. It's nice font sizes too. You're not going to be squinting while you're reading it. So I'm going to be reading you story 24 and it's called The Man Behind Me. And this was actually sent to me by Tonya, who's followed my page for a long time. Because people send me stories and I actually have a proper chat with them. And actually, I've got to know a lot of really cool people through TikTok as well. It's really nice to remember who sent me which story. So if you're listening, Tonya, thank you for this one. And Tonya says, I used to sit in the living room window and watch the world go by. Many of the regulars from the pub, just a little side note, her mum and dad owned a pub. She was raised in one. And she's actually got more stories from this pub, which is brilliant. And it's still around today. The pub is still open. It's just rearranged, apparently. So she says, many of the regulars from the pub I lived in would wave to me and I would wave back. It was quite a lonely upbringing in the pub because my brother was a lot older than me and would take me places if he wasn't busy, but my parents were often tied up with work downstairs. Anyway, one evening, my brother's girlfriend was dropped off by her mum. As she got out the car, they both waved to me before her mum drove off. When she came upstairs to say hi, she said, your dad was quick getting back downstairs and behind the bar. I looked at her confused and said, how do you mean? And she replied, he was behind you, waving back at us. I said, no, he couldn't have been. I was on my own. She looked at me, serious now, and said, you weren't. There was a man standing behind you. We just assumed it was your dad. And then Tonya says, I slept with the light on that night. I think I would have as well, Tonya. Who the hell is that creepy geezer waving behind you? Like, that's not okay and no one needs that. Especially as a kid, feeling a bit lonely, watching the world go by. You don't need to know that there's some spook behind you, do you? I don't like that. That freaks me out. So the next story that I want to share with you is story 25. And it's called The Glass That Walked. So you have to forgive me. I don't remember who sent me this one. We only had one chat, one conversation. I know that much. But this lady says, I think this was a lady who sent this to me. And she says, when I first moved into my house, a couple of spooky things happened. The one that freaked me out the most was when I was sat on the sofa with a dog under my feet and someone clapped right by my ear. Can I just say as a side note, that is absolutely horrific, isn't it? Imagine you've just moved into a house. It's already unnerving, even if you've got a dog. Let me tell you, right, I don't have my own house yet, but I am saving for my own house right now. And I did some house sitting for some friends recently while they went away with their new little baby who's beautiful. And I wasn't scared in that area. Actually, surprisingly, I wasn't scared. But it's quite daunting living alone. And I did think to myself at one point, this is going to be my reality at some point. How do I feel about this? I've never lived on my own before, like my own, live with friends and stuff. And I can't imagine my first night in my new house and that happening. What do you do from that point? You've already bought it, unless you're renting. Then you just basically say, right, peace out, see you later, here's my month's notice. But yeah, think about the reality of this. This is what fascinates me about people sending me their ghost stories. The reality of it is just mind-blowing. This is actually happening to people, because I've had experiences, but they're nowhere near what other people have lived. Absolutely blows my mind. Anyway, so the dog jumped up and ran upstairs. Do not blame the dog. And she says, I lived alone and my house is a long, thin terrace and the living room leads into the dining room, which leads into the kitchen and then into a tiny office space. I'd had a new kitchen fitted and all of the glasses had been moved to the office, which had deep L-shaped shelves. I didn't bother moving them back as the glasses were tucked into the corner of the L and I couldn't quite reach them. Plus, there was a jug in front of them. She says, last year I was in the living room when I heard a bang. The dog started barking. A champagne flute was sitting upright in the doorway between the kitchen and office, completely unbroken, with not a single crack on it. She says the glass couldn't have just fallen. It was a good few feet from where it lived to where it landed, and it would have had to travel around the jug and other glasses on the shelf. Wow. I would actually really like an update on this story. If this story was yours, please can you message me an update to see if anything else has happened. If you still live in that house, that is. My inbox on my TikTok has got quite big now, as you can imagine, which is absolutely incredible and I'm so grateful for it. But it's hard sometimes to picture the name of who sent me the story, so I can't really do that with that one. It'll be a case of spending a few hours going through all of the inboxes, which I would love to do, but I just don't have time to do at the moment. Now, let's find you another one to read. Okay. Now, this one, I'm going to skip forward to story 27 because story 26 is The Woman with No Face by Catherine. It's one of my favourite ghost stories I've ever been sent. Love Catherine to bits. She's such a lovely person. She checks in on me every now and then. She's followed my page for a long time. I'm so grateful. There's been so many people on my TikTok who are just such beautiful human beings who I've managed to just get to know so much better over the last year, considering I've only been on TikTok for a year for ghost stories. And yeah, Catherine always checks in and we joke that she's like my TikTok mum. And, as with a few people on my TikTok, like Tonya, Helen, there's too many to name, but there's loads of people on my TikTok who just check in and just say, well done for how many followers you've got, and Catherine is that person. So if you're listening, Catherine, thank you very much. And if you want to listen to The Woman with No Face, that story is amongst these videos on my Spotify, YouTube or Apple Music somewhere. So go find that if you want to listen. Just a little giveaway for that video. Her 10-year-old child gets picked up from being on the toilet and thrown across the bathroom. That's the level of craziness we're talking. You're going to have to go listen to it. So story 27 is Little Gypsy Girl. I think it was a man who sent me this. Their name was just Music Lover, so I don't really know with that one. Sometimes I forget to ask names, but the majority of the time I don't. And obviously these stories were some stories that I got way back when I first started, so that was at the start of last year, so you have to forgive me. So this gentleman says, my mother has always had a deep connection to the spiritual world, and one that has revealed itself in the most profound and mysterious ways over the years. One of the most touching experiences she shared is of a little gypsy girl who would appear to her gently, reassuring her, saying, "You're going to be okay." At the time, my mum didn't understand the full meaning of those words until she faced one of the most critical moments of her life: open heart surgery for an aortic valve replacement. Before and after the operation, the same little gypsy girl appeared again, reminding her, "I told you you would be okay." That moment gave my mother both peace and strength during one of the hardest trials. The encounters didn't stop there. After I bought a brand new apartment in 2021, my mother stayed with me and witnessed something extraordinary. She saw a woman and a little girl walking through my bedroom and out the window on multiple occasions. No fear, no drama, just a quiet and surreal presence passing through. These kinds of experiences seem to run in our family. In the 90s, when our grandmother passed away, my sister saw her spirit and described her in full detail, from her clothes to her posture, even though neither of us had never attended the funeral or knew what she was wearing. My mother was stunned at how accurate the description was. Even more astonishing was when my sister's daughter, only 3 years old at the time, would sit in her room giggling and having full conversations with someone called Nana Edna. She had no way of knowing who she was, yet when questioned, she described our grandmother Edna with incredible accuracy, someone she had never met. These encounters continued until she was around 6 years old and then quietly faded. Now I am going to give you another ghost story because these ones that I read you are actually quite short. And this is story 28 and it's called The Thing in the Smoke. And this is from a lady, again, I can't remember her name. I apologise if this is your story and you're listening. So this lady says, "My dad, who has since passed away, told me that he was working in another country and staying in a guest house with 2 other men. He couldn't get to sleep one night, so he decided to sit up and have a cigarette. After a while, he finished his cigarette and lay back down to try and sleep. He noticed that the temperature in the room had dropped considerably. When he noticed that what he had thought was the smoke from his cigarette was getting thicker and coming from the corner of the room. It started taking shape. After a while, it turned into a very evil-looking man. It started to move up between the 2 beds in the room. He grabbed his co-worker's pillow and threw it at this spirit. Whoever this person had been in life, he thought they obviously weren't a good person because when my dad threw the pillow, the spirit reacted and the window broke." And they've put in brackets, hard to believe, I know. "My dad went to dive after this thing, but his friend grabbed his arm just in time. The window had already been smashed, and if my dad had gone through it, he would have fallen 13 feet into the courtyard below. 3 weeks later, he returned to the same guest house on his own. He sat up all night waiting for the spirit to appear, but it never did." I've just realised that I've got a typo in here, and I checked this book relentlessly. So if you're reading story 28, there is a little typo in there. I've forgotten to add a word. I'm going to have to take note of that. I will stop there as I would like to read you more stories going forward. But if you're listening to this podcast and you have a ghost story, just a weird encounter, maybe it's more like a guardian angel type story, maybe it's a bit of a darker story, or maybe it's a night terror or something like that. Whatever it is, you can send me an email, thedarklingchronicles25@gmail.com. I will put all of the information in the description below. Wherever you're watching or listening, you can find it. You can find this book, complete with my now recognised typo, in the description also. I promise you it's worth $12.99, and that includes the postage too. So obviously it would have been cheaper if it wasn't for postage, because postage, in my opinion, can be way worse than ghosts. However, that's probably a load of nonsense because if I experienced a ghost, I would cry. So yeah, it's $12.99 including postage. That's why it's so much, because you know how much they charge. They bloody mug you right off, don't they? Anyway, so that's all the ghost stories I have for today. If you have a ghost story, please get in contact and send it to me. I really hope that you're all well. Sending you so much love as usual, and thank you for listening to this podcast. Like, you guys are amazing. I don't know why you keep coming back to listen to me, but I'm so grateful that you're here, and I'll catch you in the next one.